So imagine you're holding this perfectly ripe piece of fruit in your hand.
Okay, yeah.
Now imagine trying to force that fruit to ripen faster by, like, yelling at it.
Yeah.
Or stressing over it, drawing up some kind of corporate 5-year growth plan for it, and, working 80-hour weeks just to make it grow.
Right. I mean, it sounds completely absurd when you put it like that.
It really does.
Okay.
But if we're being totally honest with ourselves, that is exactly how we tend to treat our own lives, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We operate under this underlying assumption that speed just automatically equals success.
Yes. We optimize our morning routines. We force results. We're constantly trying to hack our way to maturity. But so often, after checking all those boxes and pushing as hard as humanly possible, there's still this quiet, lingering feeling of being totally unfinished inside.
Yeah, that sense of lacking something, even when you're outwardly successful.
Exactly. So, welcome to this deep dive, everyone. We are so glad you're here with us. Our mission today is to essentially step outside of that constant hustle culture and extract a completely different philosophical framework for finding balance.
And genuine maturity.
Right. And to do that, we're looking at 2 really profound essays from a text titled The Branch of Patience and the Art of Ripening.
And I just want to say right off the bat, it's a striking text because it doesn't just offer abstract, philosophical musings that sound nice but don't mean anything.
And we don't want that.
Exactly. It presents a really highly practical lens for navigating modern anxieties. The author basically says we're all caught in this continuous tension between 2 forces.
The transient and the enduring. Right?
Yes. The transient being that daily, chaotic, ever-changing noise of life, and then the enduring, which are the timeless truths that actually sustain us. And what this text provides is a way to navigate that messy space between those 2 extremes without, completely losing your footing.
And I feel like the absolute best way to anchor this whole framework is through this very specific, really sensory memory the author shares in the first essay.
Oh, the one about the fruit.
Yeah, the essay is called The Fruit That Waits on the Branch and the Secret of the Human Being. So the author describes this moment from childhood like a door opening years later in their mind. It's a garden across from their house at the very end of summer. And the writing is just, it's so tactile. You can almost smell the scent of the soil.
Yeah, and they talk about feeling that slight coolness starting to enter the air, seeing the late season light filtering down through the leaves.
Right. And in this scene, the author's eyes are drawn upward to this single perfect apricot sitting on the highest branch of a tree.
And they note that this specific fruit really stood out from all the others around it. It was fuller, brighter, just deeply colored.
Yeah.
And when the author recalls finally picking it, they mention that resting in their hands, it didn't just feel like a piece of fruit. It represented a state of absolute completion.
Like it was whole.
Exactly. The taste was perfectly balanced, there was nothing lacking, and there was nothing excessive. It had simply reached the peak of what it was meant to be.
But the real revelation for the author, it doesn't actually come in that childhood moment.
Right. It takes years.
Yeah, it hits them years later when they are caught in the absolute haste and frantic energy of adult life. They're dealing with that exact feeling of being incomplete that we were just talking about.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they look back at the memory of that apricot and realize something really fundamental. That fruit did not decide how much sun it was going to receive.
Right.
It didn't direct the nutrient density of the soil, and it certainly didn't, call the clouds to bring the rain. It simply remained on its branch.
Which brings us directly to the human condition, right? And our really pervasive illusion of control.
Tell me about it.
Well, as humans, we falsely believe we are the architects of absolutely everything in our orbit. We think we're planning and controlling and essentially manufacturing the food of our own lives through sheer willpower.
Just grinding it out.
Exactly. But the text points out this really humbling reality. If you observe closely, we don't even control the most fundamental mechanisms of our own existence.
What do you mean?
Well, you don't consciously command your lungs to draw breath, right? You don't instruct your heart to beat. You don't even control the sudden arising of a thought in your mind.
That is so true.
Yeah, the vital processes happen entirely without our management. Becoming aware of our helplessness in that regard isn't a weakness. It's actually a doorway to truth.
Okay, let's unpack this, though, because I'm struggling with this whole entrusting idea.
Sure, push back on it.
In a practical sense, if I just sit on my branch and wait for the sun and rain to do their thing, my rent doesn't get paid.
Fair point.
the project at work doesn't get finished.
Mm.
I mean, I understand the poetry of the apricot, but is this author confusing patience with passivity? Because to a modern ear, entrusting yourself to an unseen order sounds a bit like, well, just giving up, like refusing to take responsibility.
That's a really valid question, and the text actually anticipates that exact friction.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. The author clarifies that entrusting is not abandonment, and the fruit's waiting is in no way passive.
How so?
It is an active, grounded knowing of its place within a larger system. I mean, the tree is doing the work of drawing nutrients from the roots. It's reaching for the sun, weathering the wind.
Okay, so there is action happening.
Right. The mistake we make is assuming that just because we participate in the growing, we are the ones artificially manufacturing the final product.
Ah, I see.
The author writes that the more humans try to artificially build themselves, like constructing a facade of maturity or success, the more deeply they tire themselves out.
We burn ourselves out trying to play God with our own lives.
Precisely. Think about the natural order of operations in nature.
Yeah.
A fruit ripens first, and then it is plucked.
Right.
Being plucked, which we might equate to achieving success or reaching a milestone or feeling complete, is supposed to be the natural result of ripening. It is not the cause.
Wow. We have that order completely reversed in modern society.
We really do.
We demand the success, the title, the recognition, before we've actually done the internal growing. We wish to be taken before we are ready.
Exactly.
And reading this, it becomes so clear that when we force that process, we just end up like a fruit plucked way too early.
Hard and bitter.
Yes. We might look shiny and beautiful on the outside. Maybe we have the perfect resume or the right aesthetic on social media, but internally we're bitter and we're completely lacking in depth.
Which forces a complete redefinition of what patience actually is. Because if staying on the branch isn't laziness, what is the active mechanism, right?
Right.
The text states it so clearly. Patience is not merely waiting. Patience is remaining where one is meant to be.
Remaining where one is meant to be. I love that. It takes the concept of patience and completely strips away the idea of it being some boring waiting game.
It totally reframes it.
It turns into a state of profound alignment. There's this couplet in the essay that captures this beautifully. It goes, not the one who builds the self, but the one who finds direction ripens.
And what's fascinating here is the distinction between building the self and finding direction.
Say more about that.
Well, building the self is what we see constantly today, right? The obsessive curation of personal branding, the endless self-optimization, the frantic adding on of skills just to appear more valuable.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
It is. But finding direction is an entirely different posture. And this alignment becomes most visible when we are placed under extreme difficulty.
Like when things go wrong.
Exactly. Under strain, this framework suggests we generally have two choices. We either turn inward toward the ego.
Which looks like trying to force control. Right.
Yeah.
Getting resentful and frantic.
Exactly. Or the second option, we turn upward toward truth, maintaining our direction. When we rush decisions or demand immediate results simply because the waiting is uncomfortable, we actually interrupt our own process of becoming.
You know, the friction there is that I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are likely sitting in roles or situations right now where they feel that internal lack, even if the outside world is applauding them.
Imposter syndrome, basically.
Right. So what does this all mean for us functionally? If the text says a fruit doesn't declare its own maturity, how do we actually know when we are ripe? Do we just rely on a feeling?
Well, affirming the text, true ripeness is never announced outwardly. A fruit doesn't shout that it's ready, right? Its state of completion just speaks for itself.
That makes sense.
True maturity is felt inwardly. A person who has truly ripened does not feel the frantic need to prove their status to anyone. They don't try to complete themselves through panicked, forced action.
They just are.
Yes. The text argues that we are completed by truth through direction, awareness, and patience.
Okay, so it's a beautiful concept to imagine entrusting yourself to a quiet branch in a serene, sunlit garden.
It is nice.
But what happens to that philosophy when the environment isn't a quiet garden, but a literal hurricane?
Ah, the storm.
Right. Does the apricot just get blown off the tree?
It's one thing to be patient when conditions are favorable. It is entirely another to stay on the branch when the external chaos of the world is threatening to tear you down. And that tension transitions us perfectly into the ideas presented in the second essay, which is called Between the Lantern and the Storm.
I love that title.
It's very evocative. The author acknowledges that human life is suspended in a silent, continuous struggle between two forces, the transient and the enduring.
Okay, let's break those down.
So the transient is the constant shifting flow of daily events, circumstances, opinions, crises. The text refers to it as the pulse of life. You can't avoid it, nor should you, because life is woven out of these events.
And the enduring.
On the other side, the enduring consists of timeless, unshifting truths. Things like justice, compassion, honesty, and loyalty.
So the essay uses this brilliant metaphor to ground the concept. The storm is the transient. It's forceful, restless, loud, and it shifts directions constantly.
Yes.
And then the lantern represents the enduring values. It's steady, illuminating, and provides guidance in the absolute dark. And the text warns that if you immerse yourself entirely in the transient storm without the lantern, you become nothing more than a vessel for whatever passing current happens to grab you.
Exactly. Being caught in the storm without a lantern means that every single new event completely reshapes your worldview.
You have no anchor.
Right. Every new loud voice drowns out your internal compass. You become incredibly reactionary.
It's the philosophical equivalent of doom scrolling the news for 6 hours straight.
That is the perfect modern analogy.
You're just being battered by event after event, outrage after outrage, without a core set of enduring values to help you process any of it.
Right, and it leaves you exhausted and empty.
But wait, let's play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
If the storm is that dangerous and it constantly threatens to blow us off our branch, shouldn't we just retreat?
What do you mean?
Like, why not just lock ourselves inside a sturdy room with our lantern, focus entirely on those beautiful, enduring values, and completely tune out the transient noise of the world?
Well, the author explicitly warns against that temptation to retreat. Yes. If you attempt to live strictly by enduring values and completely insulate yourself from the transient, the text argues you become like a plant grown in a greenhouse.
Oh, a greenhouse plant.
Yeah.
That is a devastating image when you really think about it.
It is, because inside that little glass bubble, the plant might look perfectly healthy, it gets optimal light, regulated water, but it is entirely unaccustomed to the unpredictable winds of the outside world.
It has no resilience.
Exactly. The text notes that at the first real storm, the first moment of genuine tragedy or societal upheaval, a person who has lived only in the enduring will bend or break.
Because they possess theory, but no contact.
Yes, they hold values, but have no lived experience putting those values into practice. You cannot navigate human existence with a single wing. We require both.
As the text summarizes the dynamic, the transient occupies us, the enduring builds us.
That's the core of it.
The transient occupies us, the enduring builds us. If you only live in the transient storm, you are constantly occupied, constantly busy, but you are never deepened.
You collect a million impressions, but they produce zero meaning.
Right. And on the flip side, if you only look at the enduring, you lose contact with the reality of life and become totally ineffective. You have to take that enduring meaning and actually carry it into the messy reality of life.
Exactly.
But how do we functionally achieve that? How do we build both wings in a daily routine?
Well, the text offers two parallel paths to help us forge this balance, reading and listening. But the author uses these terms in a very specific way.
Not just literal reading a book.
Right. Reading in this framework is the mechanism that connects us to the enduring. It's not just the act of acquiring information or skimming text. It is the deep digestion of truth.
Like internalizing it.
Yes, making those enduring concepts your own to strengthen your inner lantern.
Yeah.
And listening, conversely, is what opens us to the transient present.
Okay.
And this isn't just hearing background noise. It is an attentive, grounded openness directed toward understanding the world exactly as it is happening around you.
Okay, so when the text talks about reading, we aren't talking about casually scrolling through a Wikipedia page or a news feed. We're talking about the actual metabolism of enduring information.
Metabolism is the exact right word.
And listening is our tether to the storm.
Yes. And the text provides a definitive measure or a test for how to use these two tools together.
What's the test?
Every single new piece of information that comes flying at you from the transient storm, every breaking news alert, every piece of workplace drama, every societal shift, it must be passed through the filter of your enduring inner values.
Oh, I see.
The transient must always be questioned and measured by the enduring.
Because if we don't metabolize it through that filter, we just operate on pure reflex.
We just react.
We believe the loudest voice. We get swept up in the immediate outrage. And a reactive person doesn't actually lead their own life. They are led by whoever is blowing the hardest in the storm.
You might feel like you're highly active, engaged and informed because you're constantly reacting. but in reality, you are just drifting.
A leaf in the wind.
Exactly, mistaking movement for direction.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me, though. There is a subtle trap in that line of thinking that the text points out, which completely shifts how we view responsibility.
Yes, the trap of the transient.
Right. The author argues that one of the greatest dangers of the transient storm is how seductive it is. It actively pulls people out of their rightful place.
It tricks them.
Yeah, it tricks them
Yeah.
into trying to fix the entire world while they entirely neglect their own immediate sphere of responsibility.
Right.
It's like obsessing over how to put out a forest fire 1,000 miles away while your own kitchen is actively burning down.
That analogy is so spot on. And the text takes it a step further by suggesting that we often use the distant forest fire as a convenient excuse to ignore the burning kitchen.
Oh man, that hurts because it's true.
It does. Abandoning your own sphere to wander into areas that aren't yours isn't noble in this framework. It is a profound squandering of energy.
We use the chaos of the storm as a distraction from the quiet, difficult work we're actually meant to do.
True influence, according to this philosophy, always begins near. You have to establish balance within yourself first.
Put your own oxygen mask on first.
Exactly. You have to light your own lantern and tend to your own branch before you can have any genuine, lasting effect on your wider surroundings.
You know, as we bring this all together for everyone listening, the goal of exploring these essays isn't to convince anyone to withdraw from the world into some philosophical greenhouse.
No, definitely not.
We aren't supposed to hide from the storm. But at the same time, it's a clear call to stop hustling so hard, to artificially manufacture a version of ourselves that isn't actually ripe.
It's about integration.
Right. The aim is to become a person of both wings, to engage fully with the present moment without surrendering your mind to it, to be deeply rooted in enduring values without withdrawing from the messy reality of human life,
Beautifully said.
to experience the events of the storm, but to interpret them strictly through the light of your own inner compass.
It requires a fundamental shift in posture, really. It moves us from a stance of constant panicked production to a stance of grounded receptivity.
It really frames the next stressful moment differently. The question isn't, how do I force this outcome to happen right now? The question becomes, am I demanding to be plucked before I've actually ripened?
That's the core question.
So next time you feel rushed to opine on a crisis, or to prove your success, or to react to the noise around you, recall the image of that apricot on the highest branch. Completion is a process you undergo, not a metric you hack your way toward.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, there's a line toward the end of the text that notes, meaning reveals itself only to those who can pause.
Oh, I love that.
In a modern society that constantly equates immediate, loud reaction with importance and intelligence, there is immense power in hesitation.
Wait, really? Just pausing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it. What if the most radical, effective action you can take tomorrow is to deliberately delay your reaction to the storm? To afford yourself the time to step back, recognize the transient winds for what they are, and do the quiet work of lighting your lantern before you step forward. What would that deliberate pause actually look like in the middle of your daily routine?
It's the profound difference between being blown away by the wind and using that exact same wind to find your proper balance on the branch. Let that thought sit with you. Take a breath, locate your lantern, and give yourself the grace to truly ripen in your own time. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.